Okay, so they're the drivers. Two La Nina events, but very different in terms of ocean conditions, and quite different in terms of the impacts over Australia. Every month we issue a seasonal climate outlook, rainfall, temperature, and stream flows. On the left-hand side is the outlook that we published in November 2011. For the subsequent 3-month period. It shows the chances of exceeding average rainfall for that 3-month period. So, for example, over the subtropical west here, the forecast was suggesting a high chance of above average rainfall, and likewise over the far southeastern Queensland and northeastern New South Wales, likewise a high chance of above average rainfall. The bottom right is what we actually observed for that 3-month period, again in terms of these decile values, and just running around the country, forecasting of above average over the far northwest here. Didn't really play out in terms of the observations. Did much better through the western subtropics, and indeed the far southwest of the continent. Did well over much of the southern New South Wales, southern Queensland, northern New South Wales. Had patches of success through northern Queensland and through a band that extended through southwestern Victoria into northern Tasmania. There's some evidence of that. And of course, the Tasmania seemed to line up fairly well. So all in all, not a bad forecast. We did similarly well for the previous summer, and of course it is helped when you've got strong signals in the sea surface temperatures and so forth. But I think overall reasonable guidance provided by this forecast. The outlooks for the autumn period. This is our lowest skill period for seasonal forecast. That's the nature of the climate system. There's a lot of science going in to try and improve the forecast generally, but to try and improve things, particularly through this autumn period. Again, on the left-hand side is the rainfall. Where we do have skill is through this northern, the far north of Australia, and in the southwest here, where there is skill. The skill is not high. It's fairly patchy through much of New South Wales and through Victoria into Tasmania. But nevertheless, there is this suggestion here for most of this region is for above average rainfall, and that's no doubt going to play out even over a 3-month period, given the rains that we have had. Southwest of Western Australia, a slight shift towards greater chances of below average rainfall there. Nothing too spectacular on the maximum temperatures for the autumn period. More chance of below average maximum temperatures through here. The skill is higher in general for maximum temperature, but still tends to be low through the southern Queensland and through New South Wales. But a higher chance of warmer temperatures over the west of Western Australia. I haven't got the graphic for the minimum temperature, but that shows for much of southern and western Western Australia a greater chance of warmer nights, and for much of eastern Australia, again a greater chance of warmer nights. The forecasts I've shown so far are statistically based, so they're derived from historical relationships between sea surface temperatures and our rainfall and our temperature. We do produce experimental forecasts from dynamic models, and these dynamic models are the global climate models that have more similarity to the models used for weather forecasting than what they do for the statistical seasonal forecast. So these are the forecasts for the 3 months here, from March, April to May. The March on the left-hand side here, and picking up this very wet event we've just had. The suggestion through April and through May for a return to more normal rainfall conditions. We will expect over the next 6 to 12 months to start introducing these forecasts more as part of our public services. Seasonal streamflow forecasts. We first got into this space in December 2010. These are for a different period. We were not able to update our seasonal streamflow forecast until towards the end of the first week of the month. So just to run through these quickly, wherever we see a strong tendency towards a more dark blue sector of this pie, or the indication of a more likelihood of higher stream flows, and where there is a suggestion of a more orange, the orange sector is a greater likelihood of lower flows. In short, for southern New South Wales and for northern New South Wales, shown a much greater likelihood of higher flows, and again, I mean that is going to play out as a result of the rainfall we've seen. For Victoria, the forecast was going for more for near median to higher flows for that 3-month period. I said earlier that this La Nina event that we've experienced appears to be on its way out. In fact, it appears to be running out the door very, very quickly. The cool waters that we've seen through much of the tropical Pacific are now being replaced by warmer waters, and that transition has happened very, very rapidly. And as I said earlier, the waters around Australia are a lot warmer than average, and they're very likely to have been a contributor to the wet conditions we've experienced very, very recently. What's going to happen in the next over the next 9 months or so with the tropical Pacific, and how that might influence a return to neutral conditions. This is a forecast from our dynamic model again, as well as doing rainfall and temperature and other climate variables. It provides forecasts for the ocean temperatures, and these are the forecasts for the next 9 months or so for that central eastern tropical Pacific region, which is a big indicator of the El Nino Southern Oscillation. So sea surface temperatures on the y-axis. Here's where we are, March, in terms of the current temperatures in that region. We're just slightly below average. Here are around about 30 independent model runs of this global climate model, suggesting that we will move into this trajectory into neutral sea surface temperatures will continue. In fact, the ocean temperatures likely to get warmer later in the year. We'd be looking for an average to flip up above about 0.8 degrees here to start raising a flag about an El Nino. From this model, there's no suggestion as yet that we're going to head that way. So just in summary, 2 La Nina events, massive impact on Australia, the first one being one of the strongest in living memory. The forecasts for both summers have provided good guidance on the wet conditions that are ahead. Recent heavy rainfall and flooding result of the quite unique weather conditions extending over northern, central and southeastern Australia. The oceans surrounding Australia got very warm towards the end of summer. Despite the recent conditions, La Nina is expected to continue to weaken with neutral ENSO conditions forecast in autumn. But we're not at the end of the wet season yet, and there's still likely to be some events still ahead. Thanks for that.